Welcome, everyone, to the Women and Girls Foundation's web show, In the Movement. I'm your host, Camila Rivera-Tinsley, and each month we interview incredible people who are working towards creating a more sustainable and equitable future with conversations focused on gender, racial, and environmental justice. This month, I am honored to have my special guest, Amy Widestrom. She is the Executive Director of the League of Women Voters of Pennsylvania. And I'm excited to share your background and to share what you do with our audience today. So let's get right into it. So first, I just want to ask, how did you become so engaged with voting rights?
Well, it was sort of a long process to get me here. I actually graduated college with a degree in English and theater, but I quickly landed in the nonprofit world where I was working in low-income communities and actually with incarcerated individuals. And I got really interested in sort of civic empowerment, or really among those populations, civic disempowerment. And so I went back to graduate school and I got my PhD in political science, focusing on American politics. And so for 20 years, I was learning about and researching and publishing on and teaching about American politics generally, but really my passion has been on how we can really excite people about civic engagement and how we can build systems that really encourage civic engagement. And so I taught for a long time, about 15 years, and now I have moved back into the sort of work of democracy and voting rights with the League, and I'm really happy to be here.
How did you find your way specifically to the League of Women Voters of PA?
Yeah, it was, I had hit a point in my teaching and sort of professorial life where I was really loving connecting with the students and I was loving talking about American politics, but I was feeling really uh, stuck a little bit. And American politics has become very difficult to teach, which is probably not super surprising. And I felt like I really wanted to pivot to get back into doing the work. And so I gave myself a couple of years to transition out of higher education, but this job became available and it felt like such a natural fit, given my teaching background and my research background and the needs of the League. And so I made the transition pretty quickly, actually, and it's been a great transition, and I was right. It's been a great fit.
So, can you share a little bit about the League of Women Voters of Pennsylvania, and what you've wanted to do under your leadership and guidance?
Yeah. So the League of Women Voters of Pennsylvania has been around for 104 years. And what's really interesting about the League in Pennsylvania is that we were actually in existence before the founding of the National League. We were called the League of Women Citizens. And when the National League was founded in 1920 in response to the passage of the 19th Amendment, the League of Women Citizens in Pennsylvania changed their name and became affiliated with the League of Women Voters. So we've been in the Commonwealth for a really long time with the mission of empowering voters and defending democracy. So it's really about getting voters registered, but getting them the good information they need to be informed and engaged citizens, and then also really protecting the right to vote. And so what that has looked like has changed over time. But that has really been the core mission, empowering voters and defending democracy since we became the League of Women Voters of Pennsylvania in 1920. Since coming here, my goals with the League are really to first and foremost remind people that we're still here, right? I mean, I think that one of the benefits of being an organization that's been around for so long is that we have a long track record of really good work, and we're a really trusted organization for folks who know about our work. It's also the case that younger generations don't know about us as well as our mothers and our grandmothers did. And part of that is just the natural trend and the kind of membership organization that we are. Membership-based organizations have declined really since the 70s. There is a great book called Bowling Alone written about that. And so some of it is that people are joining organizations in a different way than they used to in the 1950s, 1960s, 1970s, even the 80s. They're just joining differently. So one of my goals is just first and foremost remind people that we're still here, and to let folks know that the league, despite our name, is really for everyone. It is for men and for women. It is for young folks and old folks. It is for urban and rural folks. It is for everyone in the Commonwealth. And so my goal is to both make the league reflect what the Commonwealth looks like, right? We are a broad and diverse people here in the state of Pennsylvania, and I want the league to reflect that. And to that end, then what the league can do is help our democracy in Pennsylvania look like the people of Pennsylvania. So we want our league to be representative of who's here in the Commonwealth, and we want our voters and the voices that our legislators are hearing to be reflective of the people in the Commonwealth. And those two goals sort of go hand in hand, I think.
First of all, I love hearing about the history. History is something that I wish more people were into. And shout out to the Commonwealth and the women of the Commonwealth for being so ahead of their time.
Yeah.
And then also just listening to you talk about having, that reflection, right? So how can the League of Women Voters really reflect the constituents that they serve?
Yeah.
Again, WGF is right there with you and such a supporter.
I have young daughters. I've got a 12-year-old and a 15-year-old, and I talk to them about my work, and they just connect to it in a different way than I do. And that even, I'm in my, mid to late 40s, but even in my, my brother who's in his 30s, like our generations are different. And so how do we speak to all generations in ways that again help them feel really empowered and powerful in civic life?
So we have a very contentious election coming up. What do you want to say to young people who may feel like their vote doesn't matter?
Yeah, so I hear this a lot. I'd say a couple of things. One is that in a state like Pennsylvania, it is probably the most important of the swing states in the election. There are about 7 that top the list, and we are among the top for why for really sort of the center of how this election is going to go. And part of why that's the case is what I was just talking about. We're just so diverse. We've got urban areas and rural areas and young folks and old folks, and we've got a great deal of racial and ethnic diversity and language diversity. And so we really are sort of an encapsulation of the country. And so we're really important. It is absolutely the case that elections can come down to a very small percentage of votes. It is likely that this election is going to be very close. And so our votes matter most in the margins, right? When those elections are close, individual votes really matter. And so knowing that, and I know the Electoral College feels out of date and frustrating, but knowing that the electors who are responsible for certifying the vote on the certification day for the particular president, they vote the way that our vote tells them to, right? So some people feel like the Electoral College is just some people, not the voters, making a decision. By state law, they have to vote the way that we tell them to. And so whichever candidate gets the most votes, that's how the Electoral College is going to go in the state of Pennsylvania. So your vote matters in that sense. You really are sending a message. And in close elections, individual votes really count. It is also the case that it's not just the president who's on the ballot, right? There's a Senate race, there's an Attorney General race, there are state legislator races across the Commonwealth that are on your individual ballots. And those races, even though people are standing there in the voting booth ready to vote for president, participation in what we call down ballot races can fall off and people stop sort of filling out the ballot as they go. And in those races, they can be extremely close. There was a race in the primary that came down to 3 votes, right? So in those races, votes really, really matter. And so I would say it doesn't just matter to tell the electors in the Electoral College who you want to vote for. Those down ballot races are also really, really important. And in close elections, individual votes matter.
How do you feel about rank voting? And can you explain a little bit more about it for those of us who don't know what that means?
Yeah, so this is one election reform that some folks feel like would help people feel better represented. So, and I should say, it's also more possible now that we have computers to help us out. It would have been difficult during purely paper balloting times. And so the reason for that is, so if you can go into the voting booth and you rank order your vote, right? So this person is your first choice, the next person is your second choice, the next person is your third choice. I go in and I do the same. Basically, what you do is you sort of figure out who among all of those got the highest ranking most often. So you get more of a consensus candidate rather than what we have now is just the candidate that gets the most votes. It's not even the majority of the votes. They don't even have to get 51% of the votes. It's just whoever gets the most. And that doesn't always feel terribly democratic, right? So if you have 6 candidates, the person who gets the most votes might only win with 28% of the vote or something, but that doesn't feel very representative. Whereas a ranked choice system where you can sort of develop a consensus candidate, the candidate that receives the most highest ranking votes could be more reflective of the population in general. It's harder to do when you have to do that all by hand, obviously. But with the help of technology, there are some folks advocating for a switch to that system. There's so many other reforms out there, right, that we could make the Electoral College feel more reflective by making some changes there. Even if we don't want to just get rid of it and switch to a national popular vote, there are changes you can make within the Electoral College system. We could do things like making Election Day a holiday, moving Election Day to a weekend, making, 17 states have mail-in balloting options all the time, right? And my home state of Oregon, you can only vote by mail, and you've got a lot of time to sit and think about your options. And that really makes the act of voting feel more accessible, more available, more inclusive. It allows you to be more thoughtful, right? So there's all kinds of things we could be doing, I think, to make the act of voting feel more meaningful for folks.
I also think a lot about young people and how they're being called to be engaged or disengaging. And for me, I think about, what would it be like to make a much bigger fanfare of all of our students getting registered to vote as soon as they turn 18, and what we could really do to make that meaningful and important to them.
Yeah, I think I think that there are also all sorts of things we could be doing there too, right? Celebrating their 18th birthday as a passage of citizenship, a rite of passage into citizenship in a way that we don't typically think about it. I know that some of our local leagues, we have 30 local leagues across the state. Some of our local leagues partner with school districts, so when they're practicing their graduation ceremonies at the end of the year, rather than, they do their rehearsals, rather than handing out like fake diplomas as you're walking across the stage, they hand out voter registration forms. So there's all kinds of things that we could be doing to embed citizenship into into making it more exciting and more inclusive and more fun. Frankly,
More
it
part
doesn't
of our
feel
life.
very fun.
Yes, agree with that. So since we pivoted to talking about young people, I'll ask this question. So WGF's Girl Gov program works to engage young self-identified women and girls to become more civically engaged. What is one piece of advice that you would give them?
We tend to conceive of young folks as being disengaged or uninterested. And what I found is that they're actually really interested. They just don't see how it connects to the act of voting or to civic engagement. So I would say, think about the one thing that really matters to you, right? And it could be getting your trash picked up better, or it could be fair districts in the state, or it could be better funding for higher education, right? Think about the one thing that really motivates you, because we know our young folks really care about stuff. And then use that as your motivating factor, right? So go online and say, okay, who is my state representative and what are they doing about this one issue? And I don't typically think that it's I like to encourage voters to be well-rounded voters and to not be single issue voters. It is also the case that people vote because of things they really care about. So I guess I would ask um, young folks to think about, what is the thing that you really, really care about? I guarantee you the government has their hand in that somewhere, and figure out what that is and who you need to be targeting to vote for, to write letters to write emails to, and to show up to meetings to talk about. So try to make that connection. What is the one thing you really care about, and what level of government requires participation to fix that one thing? And I think once we start exercising that muscle of being civically engaged, then that allows our muscle to grow, and we can start being more engaged across other issues, across other levels of government. And so that would be my suggestion, is really find that one thing that you're passionate about and go after that, and then grow from there.
All right, this has been so illuminating and inspiring. How can people learn more about the League of Women of Voters of PA?
Yeah, so there's a couple of ways to learn more about us. The first is you can go to our website, which is palwv.org. So it's Pennsylvania League of Women Voters, palwv.org. And there's lots of information there about all of our local chapters. Like I said, we have 30 local leagues across the Commonwealth. If there isn't a local league in your area, you can join the state league and be engaged and active that way. So there's membership opportunities, there's volunteer opportunities. Um, you can sign up to be a poll worker. You can do that through our website at 17. You can be a poll worker, and anybody after that, older than that, can be a poll worker. So you can get engaged that way. And we have a tool, vote411.org. You can find your polling place. You can check your registration status. You can create it. You can type in your address and build a sample ballot. So you'll see exactly what you're going to see when you walk into that voting booth on election day and do your research. So that is a great tool for both sort of learning more about the league, but really learning what to expect on November 5th.
Well, thank you so much. Once again, just really appreciate the work that you do, and appreciate all that you shared with us. It's been really illuminating to me, and I'm sure illuminating to folks that are tuning in to watch. So, again, thank you. And we'll be looking out for more information from the League of Women Voters of Pennsylvania.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This has been wonderful.